The Whispering Oaks HOA Community Center smelled like fresh coffee and the faint chlorine from the pool outside. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, making the mahogany boardroom table gleam like it cost more than most houses on the block. Karen Whitmore sat at the head in her perfectly pressed pastel blazer, pearl earrings catching the light. Her husband Richard on her right, looking every bit the retired executive, and their daughter Victoria on her left scrolling through her phone with that polished smirk. I sat the far end, simple folder in my lap, the same one I'd carried to every volunteer meeting for the last 6 years. "Thank you all for coming," Karen announced, voice dripping with that fake community warmth she practiced in the mirror. "We've called this special board session to discuss vital expansion opportunities for Whispering Oaks. As you know, the clubhouse and pool are showing their age. We've been approached by contractors eager to partner, and we want to keep decisions in the hands of those who truly understand leadership." She smiled at me like I was a child who wandered into the wrong room. "That's why we're opening the floor to proposals." Victoria went first, of course. She clicked open a PowerPoint that could have launched a space shuttle. Graphs, market analysis, projected property value boosts. "I'm proposing a $2 million investment," she declared, chin high. "Full clubhouse expansion, Olympic-sized pool upgrade, new tennis courts. We'll finance through a bank loan backed by a temporary special assessment. My hedge fund contacts have already expressed interest in structuring the debt. We restructure the common areas as a premium amenity, position Whispering Oaks as the premier gated community in the county, and sell the vision within 3 years." Richard beamed. "Excellent work, Victoria." "Very thorough," Karen added. "That's my girl, always thinking strategically for the good of the neighborhood." The HOA attorney, Mark, nodded along. The treasurer, Robert Chin, typed notes on his tablet. "Victoria, expected timeline on ROI through increased assessments. 18 months to break even on dues, full return in 4 years. Conservative estimates." Then every head turned to me. Karen's tone shifted from honey to vinegar. "Sophie, you mentioned you had something?" I opened my folder. "Yes. I'm proposing a $750,000 plan focused on the manufacturing. No, the maintenance division. I've analyzed every utility bill, identified efficiency upgrades to the irrigation system, pool pumps, and lighting. We can increase functionality by 35% without raising dues or hiring extra staff. Just optimizing what we already own." Silence. Victoria laughed first, sharp and theatrical. "$750? That's barely enough for paint, Sophie." "It's adequate for the upgrades I've outlined," I said calmly, sliding copies across the polished table. "The key is using existing infrastructure instead of building debt we can't sustain." Karen picked up my proposal, flipped through 2 pages, and dropped it like it was contaminated. "Sophie, this is sweet that you put something together, but this is for serious community stewards only." She softened her voice the way people do when they're about to stab you. "I mean, you work at that little nonprofit downtown. You make what, $60,000 a year? Where exactly would the funds come from?" "I have resources." "Resources?" Victoria repeated, smirking. "Did you win the HOA lottery? Or is this another one of your garden club ideas?" "I've been investing quietly for years. Capital is available." Richard exchanged a glance with Karen. "Sophie, we appreciate the effort. Really. But Whispering Oaks is a $17 million operation in assessed value. We need sophisticated backers who grasp complex financial structures. Not," he paused, choosing the knife carefully, "not pretend residents playing with proposals they printed off the internet." My face stayed neutral. Karen interrupted before I could speak. "On what exactly? Your extensive HOA experience? Your proven track record in property management? Your network of industry connections?" She gestured at my folder like it was a grocery list. "Honey, you're wonderful at volunteering, picking up litter, planting flowers. That's your strength. But this," she laughed softly, "this is out of your depth, dear." Robert cleared his throat. "For what it's worth, I reviewed Sophie's proposal last week. Some of her efficiency numbers are actually quite. Robert, Karen cut in firmly. We're not wasting board time on a 750 plan when Victoria is bringing $2 million with professional backing. We all know which direction makes sense for the community. Victoria gathered her slides. So, are we moving forward with mine? I have contractors waiting. Karen nodded. Let's schedule follow-up next week. Robert, prepare paperwork for the $2 million capital injection. We'll structure it as a special assessment note. Robert started to speak again, but Karen's glare silenced him. I sat there, hands folded, while they congratulated themselves on saving Whispering Oaks. The meeting wrapped with Karen reminding everyone, we do this for the families, the property values, the future. Her eyes flicked to me. Sophie, why don't you head out? This is getting into complicated territory. No point sitting through the boring details. I stood, folder under my arm, and walked out without a word. Behind me, I heard Victoria's laugh echo. Can you believe she thought that would fly? I drove my 10-year-old Honda back to my modest ranch house. The one Karen had cited 3 times this year for excessive flower colors violating aesthetic guidelines. I parked, went inside, and waited. Because I had been waiting for 6 years. The call came exactly as I expected. My phone lit up with a Whispering Oaks HOA main line. I let it ring twice before answering on speaker. This is Richard Whitmore, Karen's husband said, voice already strained. We've just been informed that Westbridge Properties LLC is initiating full withdrawal procedures on their entire position. All $5.2 million in deferred loans and management subsidies. Robert's voice cut in from the background. What? That's impossible. The contracts have lockup periods. Apparently not, Richard snapped. According to accounting, Westbridge structured every investment with early exit clauses. They're exercising them now. Victoria's sharp tone sliced through. All of it. They're pulling every cent. Richard sank in his chair. I could picture it. It gets worse. The withdrawal triggers debt covenants on our line of credit. Equipment leases for the pool pumps, irrigation contracts. Everything is coterminous. If Westbridge pulls out, the HOA becomes insolvent within 90 days. We'd have to liquidate common assets, impose emergency assessments, probably dissolve the association. The room erupted. Karen's voice rose toward panic. This is insane. Investors don't just yank support without warning. Do we breach something? Miss a report. Robert answered quietly. We've been completely compliant. They've been ideal, hands off, never exercised board rights, never demanded more than quarterly summaries. Then why? Karen demanded. Who even is Westbridge Properties? We can't find a website, no public filings, nothing. Richard's phone rang again. He glanced at the screen. It's Westbridge. Everyone quiet. He put on speaker. A crisp professional voice filled the room. Mr. Whitmore, this is Jessica Morrison from Westbridge Properties. I'm calling to confirm we are exercising our contractual withdrawal rights effective immediately. Karen jumped in, all sugary concern. MS. Morrison, please. This will devastate our community. Hundreds of families, long-term residents, children in the pool every summer. We have obligations. I understand, Jessica replied coolly. Westbridge appreciates the partnership. However, the decision is final. Hart. No, Whispering Oaks no longer fits our portfolio profile. Victoria leaned toward the phone. Who makes these calls? Who is the principal at Westbridge? Let's speak to them directly. Westbridge is a private entity. We do not disclose ownership. This is ridiculous, Victoria snapped. You can't hide behind corporate veils and destroy a neighborhood. A pause. Classical music, Vivaldi, played on hold. Karen's hand shook. Richard stared at the phone like it might explode. Victoria paced. Robert caught my eye through the speaker somehow. He'd suspected for months. The music stopped. A new voice came on, the one they all recognized from 6 years of volunteer meetings. Hello, Karen. Absolute silence. Karen's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, recognition, then pure white shock. Sophie, Her voice was a whisper. Yes. Westbridge Properties is mine, along with several other vehicles. Richard made a sound like he'd been gut-punched. Victoria grabbed the table edge. That's impossible, Karen stammered. Westbridge has $5.2 million tied up in Whispering Oaks loans and subsidies. You work in a nonprofit. You make $60,000 a year. You live in that tiny ranch house and drive that old Honda. I make $60,000 of the nonprofit, I corrected. That's not my only income. I started with the trust fund my grandmother left. $300,000 you all told me to be careful with because it had to last. I invested it. Tech startups in 2017, crypto before the boom. By 2022, I had $15 million. Today I manage $32 million across vehicles. And for 6 years, I've been quietly subsidizing Whispering Oaks through Westbridge, low-interest loans, deferred management fees, everything you needed when the pool cracked or the irrigation failed during the 2022 drought. Karen's pearl necklace rose and fell rapidly. You've been funding us anonymously? Why didn't you say anything? You never asked. You took the money, signed the paperwork, and forgot about it. You were happy to accept capital from an anonymous investor. But when your own resident offered $750,000 in smart fixes, you called her a pretend community member and told her to leave the room so the adults could talk. The words landed like slaps. Karen tried the motherly tone. Sophie, honey, if you really control Westbridge, if you really have all this, why withdraw? Why destroy the neighborhood? I'm not destroying anything. I'm withdrawing capital from an investment that no longer meets my criteria. That's corporate speak for. An hour ago, this board made it crystal clear I'm not a serious contributor. That my proposals aren't worth reading. That I should stick to planting flowers and leave real decisions to the professionals. We didn't mean, Richard started. You meant exactly that. For years. Every time I offered input on budgets, you patted me on the head. Every time I showed interest in the common areas, you reminded me my place was on the volunteer committee. 6 years ago when you needed emergency funds for the Midwest. No, the new entrance gate, I offered to invest. You laughed and said I should focus on finding a husband instead of playing HOA, so I invested anonymously. You took my money. 4 years ago, during the supply chain crisis that spiked maintenance costs, I offered help again. You told me to let the Real board handle it. So I funneled another $1 million through Westbridge. You took that too. Victoria's voice cracked. You're taking this personally. This is business. No. You evaluated my proposal for 30 seconds, saw it came from me, and dismissed it. Robert even told you my plan was more realistic and had better long-term ROI. You ignored him. Robert spoke up quietly. For the record, Sophie's proposal was superior. Victoria's $2 million plan would have overextended us exactly as she predicted. Karen glared at the phone. Robert, I'm stating facts, Madam President. I've reviewed the numbers for 6 years. Sophie knows every line item better than any of us. I stood up in my living room, gathering my thoughts. Jessica Morrison will coordinate the withdrawal details with Robert. The process is ironclad. 30 days and every dollar is out. Good luck finding new backers who meet your standards. Sophie, wait. Karen's voice broke. Please, let's talk rationally. You're angry, I understand, but don't punish the entire neighborhood over hurt feelings. I'm not punishing anyone over feelings. I'm making a sound financial decision. Whispering Oaks has become overextended, poorly governed, and headed for trouble. Victoria's expansion would accelerate the decline. As a responsible investor, I'm removing my capital before the collapse worsens. You're calling us poorly governed? Karen's face flushed red, even over the phone. I built this board from nothing. I fought for every amenity. You fought for control. For the last 5 years, you've coasted on past success while making risky calls. Overpriced gate installation, poorly negotiated vendor contracts, terrible timing on the pool upgrade. Victoria's hedge fund friends gave bad advice. I've read every report. I know Whispering Oaks better than any of you. Then help us, Richard pleaded. If you know so much, fix it instead of abandoning us. I tried. You rejected it. You call me a pretend resident. I'm sorry, but the withdrawal stands. Tears were in Karen's voice now. I'm sorry. We were wrong about you. Please, Sophie, don't do this. 3 months ago, those words would have broken me. Not anymore. The paperwork will be complete in 30 days. I hope you find board members who meet your standards. I hung up. Behind the line, I heard Karen shouting, Victoria demanding I call back, Richard cursing. My phone started ringing immediately. 17 missed calls before I even reached the kitchen. I blocked every number temporarily. Jessica called an hour later. Well, that was dramatic. How bad is it? Whispering Oaks is in full crisis. Their attorney has called 3 times. Robert wants alternative structures. Karen left a message that was basically sobbing. Withdrawal proceeding on schedule. They can't block it. 30 days and the $5.2 million is gone. Based on current finances, they'll have 60 days before covenants trigger. They'll scramble, get rejected by every bank, and eventually face mass liens or dissolution. I felt the familiar twist in my stomach. How many staff will lose jobs? The grounds crew, 20 so far. More coming. Admin too. Jessica's voice softened. It's not too late to restructure, Sophie. No, this isn't about today. It's about 6 years of being dismissed, treated like the neighborhood charity case while they happily spent my money. I'm done shrinking myself. Robert Chin called Jessica directly the next day. Tell Sophie I figured it out 6 months ago. The investment patterns, the timing, the focus on long-term stability. It was obvious once I really looked. I respected her reasons for staying anonymous. And if Westbridge ever needs a treasurer, I'd love to be considered. Despite everything, I smiled. Then the news broke. Local HOA faces financial meltdown after mysterious investor pulls support, the suburban paper read. By day 5, Karen had tried reaching me 20 more times. Victoria sent a long email calling me childish and vindictive. Richard left voicemails begging. I answered none. Jessica gave daily updates. First National called the line of credit. 30 days to repay $2.3 million or face asset seizure. Can they repay? Not without miracle funding. No bank wants a community that just lost its majority backer under mysterious circumstances. Victoria's hedge fund contacts pulled out after their own due diligence. Overextended, poor margins, risky plans. What about Karen? Try to mortgage personal assets, their McMansion, retirement accounts, everything. It won't be enough. Layoffs started yesterday. 20 staff gone. More by month's end. That twist in my stomach tightened. Then my phone rang, an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Hello, Miss Caldwell. This is Janet Rodriguez. I worked grounds maintenance for Whispering Oaks 12 years. Her voice was steady but tired. Robert gave me your number. I know I shouldn't call, but I wanted you to know something. I have 3 kids. My husband is disabled. This job was our lifeline. Robert told me what happened. He told me you're the investor who pulled out. He told me why. She paused. I don't know your whole story, but I know what it feels like when people don't see you. When they treat you like you're nothing but the woman who plants flowers. Miss Caldwell, I'm not begging. I just wanted to say whatever happens to the HOA isn't your fault. Karen and that board should have treated you better. Robert says you tried to help and they laughed. That's on them. Just be successful. Show them what they missed. That's the best revenge, right? Tears ran down my face. How many people are losing jobs? 20 so far. Probably 30 more. The rest when it dissolves. I hung up, sat in my quiet little house, the one Karen had fined me for unauthorized color, and stared at the wall. Then I called Jessica. I need you to do something. Contact every laid-off employee. Tell them Westbridge Community Management is hiring for a new operation. Same pay, same benefits, same positions. We'll cover relocation if needed. Jessica was quiet. Sophie, that's going to cost. I know. Do it anyway. You're starting an entire new management company just to save the HOA's staff. I'm starting it because there's a talented crew about to hit the market, and I'd be an idiot not to hire them. Also because Robert Chin is apparently available as treasurer. And Jessica? Do it right. Sustainable growth, healthy margins, respect for people. Everything Whispering Oaks should have been. 6 weeks later, I stood in a renovated warehouse just outside the gates of Whispering Oaks. Former HOA grounds crew were setting up new equipment, organizing routes, laughing for the first time in weeks. Robert walked over with a tablet. 53 of the 73 staff on board. The rest found other gigs, but 53 is enough to start. What are we calling it? I looked around at these good people who deserved better than being collateral in a power trip. Westbridge Community Management. Simple. Clear. Robert grinned. Karen is going to lose her mind. She already had. Whispering Oaks had filed for dissolution and asset liquidation 3 weeks earlier. Karen had mortgaged everything trying to save it. The common areas, pool, clubhouse, green spaces, were headed to court auction. The legacy she bragged about for years was ending. Have they tried to contact you? Robert asked. Still blocked. Maybe you should talk. Not to reconcile, just closure. I considered it. Maybe eventually. Not yet. My phone buzzed. Jessica, you have a visitor at the main office. Says it's urgent. Who? Victoria Whitmore. 20 minutes later, I walked into the modest Westbridge suite downtown. Victoria sat in reception looking exhausted, rumpled like she hadn't slept in days. Sophie, can we talk? I nodded her into my office. She glanced around the plain furnishings. This is your office? So ordinary. I like ordinary. She laughed, broken. Of course you do. God, we really didn't know you at all, did we? Whispering Oaks is gone, she said flatly. Officially dissolving next month. Mom lost the house. Dad's moved in with his brother. I'm back in my condo, trying to salvage my reputation after my brilliant expansion plan helped implode the neighborhood. I'm sorry that happened. Are you? Yes. I never wanted the community to suffer. I just wanted you all to see me. Victoria was quiet a long moment. We see you now. You were right about everything. My plan was terrible. Your efficiency upgrades would have saved us. And you're not a pretend resident. You're better at this than any of us. Thank you. That's it? Just thank you. What do you want me to say, Victoria? That I forgive you? That I'll help rebuild? That family, board, matters more than business? Her voice cracked. Something. I forgive you for underestimating me. I don't forgive you for being cruel about it. And I won't help rebuild Whispering Oaks because there's nothing left. As for the board mattering more than people, you're the ones who treated me like I didn't matter while happily spending my money. I know. I was terrible. We all were. She wiped her eyes. Is there any way to make this right? Maybe eventually. Not today. She nodded. I can accept that. She stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I heard you hired most of the old staff. That you're starting a competing management company. That's good of you. Those people didn't deserve to suffer because of our drama. No, they didn't. Sophie, one more thing. Mom wanted me to ask. She's too proud herself. But she wants to know if there's any chance you'd consider buying the remaining common area assets at auction. The pool, clubhouse, green spaces. The court is selling everything. Mom thought maybe if you kept the Whispering Oaks name alive somehow. I thought about it. How much are the assets valued at? About $1.3 million for the package. I'll think about it. Not for your mother, not for nostalgia, but because some of that equipment would be useful for Westbridge. Tell the court I'll submit a bid. Victoria's face showed a flicker of hope. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. It's business, not sentiment. After she left, Jessica came in. How did it go? As well as expected. She apologized. I didn't forgive. We acknowledged reality. And yes, I'm bidding on the assets. The equipment alone is worth it. Client, resident, list could accelerate growth by 18 months. Jessica smiled. You know, that board spent years calling you soft, too nice for real decisions. Turns out you're the most clear-eyed one of all. I'm not ruthless. I'm just done being invisible. The court auction happened quietly on a Tuesday. Westbridge Community Management acquired the entire common area package, pool, clubhouse, landscaping, everything, for $1.1 million. We were the only bidder willing to take the whole bundle. The Whispering Oaks name went separately to some obscure holding company for $50,000. I smiled when I saw the filing. Oak Ridge Holdings, another one of my smaller vehicles. Just business. Robert stared at the paperwork. You bought your old neighborhood's name. I bought intellectual property that might have future licensing value. Smart asset acquisition. He shook his head, laughing. I still can't tell if you're the hero or the villain of this story. Maybe both. Or maybe I'm just someone who got tired of being the neighborhood doormat and decided to show everyone what they missed. Mission accomplished. The local business journal ran the piece 2 weeks later. 30 under 40 community innovator you've never heard of. Sophie Caldwell built a $38 million portfolio in secret. It detailed my anonymous funding of Whispering Oaks, the launch of Westbridge Community Management, quotes from Robert and the former staff, analysis calling my model sustainable and resident-focused. The photo showed me in my plain office wearing the same jeans I'd worn to the grocery store. Karen called. This time I answered. Sophie, I saw the article. Everyone has. You look beautiful. I'm so proud of you. Your father is too, even if he won't say it. What you've built is extraordinary. Thank you. I need to say something. I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry for how I treated you, for dismissing your intelligence, your capabilities, your worth. I was wrong. Completely wrong. I looked out at the warehouse floor where production, maintenance routes, hummed smoothly. I appreciate that. Is there any chance we could have coffee? Just you and me. I like to try to rebuild some kind of relationship. Maybe. But Mom, Karen, I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm not shrinking myself anymore. I'm not hiding my success to spare anyone's feelings. I understand. And I don't want you to. I want to know the real Sophie, the brilliant investor, the woman who built all this. The daughter I should have seen all along. We can have coffee. There's one more thing. Your father, he's struggling. Not just financially, emotionally. He feels like he destroyed the neighborhood legacy and lost you. He's too proud to reach out, but he needs to hear from you. I'll think about it. After we hung up, I found Robert reviewing new client contracts. Several former Whispering Oaks residents had already switched to Westbridge Management, tired of the chaos. Family drama? He asked. Always. Karen wants coffee. Dad's in crisis. Victoria is presumably somewhere trying to rewrite her resume. Are you going to help them? No. They need to solve their own problems. They spent years treating me like I couldn't handle real decisions. Let them figure it out. Harsh. Realistic. I'll maintain contact if they're willing to see me as I am, but I'm not rescuing them. That's not my job. Robert smiled. You really are clear-eyed about boundaries. He handed me the tablet. Bid results are final. We got the assets. And guess what? Some of the old residents are petitioning to form a new voluntary association under Westbridge. They want the same standards you set. I looked around at the operation already profitable in 6 months, the workplace where people were paid fairly and heard. My phone buzzed. Another interview request, this one from a national homeowners magazine. Tell them yes, I said, but I want to talk about sustainable community practices and resident-focused growth, not old drama. Robert laughed. The drama is what sells. Then they'll be disappointed. I'm done performing for entertainment. He looked at me thoughtfully. Do you miss them? The Whitmores. I thought carefully. I miss who I thought they were. The version that valued me. But that version never existed. So no, I don't miss the reality of them. That's sad. Maybe. Or maybe it's just honest. We stood watching the floor operate exactly as designed. Efficient, respectful, real. My phone buzzed again. Richard, this time a text. Saw the article. You were right about everything. I'm sorry I didn't listen. I'm sorry I didn't see you. Congratulations on your success. You earned it. Love, Dad. I read it twice, showed Robert. Are you going to respond? Eventually. Not today. Today I'm busy running my company, building something that lasts, succeeding on my own terms. I smiled. The old drama can wait. Robert laughed. You know what? You're going to be just fine. I know. And I was. 6 months later, Whispering Oaks was a memory. The gates still stood, but the common areas now operated under Westbridge Community Management. Residents who stayed enjoyed lower fees, better maintained grounds, and no more petty fines for flower colors. The ones who left because of the chaos found new homes. Karen and Richard sold their McMansion and moved into a smaller condo across town. Victoria took a job at a distant property management firm, far enough that she didn't have to see my billboards. I kept my modest house. I kept the old Honda. I still shopped at Target. None of it was an act anymore. It was just me. The only difference was the quiet satisfaction every time a former staff member thanked me for believing in them when the board hadn't. One sunny afternoon, I pulled into the community center, now rebranded Westbridge Community Hub, for the first open resident forum. Karen was there, sitting in the back row like any other neighbor. No blazer, no pearls, just a simple blouse. She caught my eye and gave a small nod. Not friendly, not hostile, just acknowledging. After the meeting, she approached, voice quiet. The new irrigation system you installed is working beautifully. The pool hasn't had a single issue since the upgrades. Residents are happier than I've ever seen them. Thank you. She looked down at her hands. I spent years telling everyone I built this place. Turns out I was just the loudest voice in the room. You were the one actually holding it up. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. She took a breath. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to tell you I see you now. And I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to do it. I nodded once. Apology accepted. Take care, Karen. She walked away, shoulders a little straighter than before. Maybe she'd learned something. Maybe not. Either way, Whispering Oaks was no longer hers to rule. That evening, I sat on my porch watching the sunset paint the houses gold. My phone buzzed. One last text from an unknown number. It was Janet Rodriguez, the groundskeeper who had called me months ago. Just wanted to say the new routes are perfect. Kids are playing in the park again without worrying about fines. My family is stable. Thank you for seeing us when they didn't. You didn't just save jobs, you saved lives. I smiled, typed back a simple, "You're welcome," and set the phone down. The neighborhood was quiet now. No more dramatic board meetings. No more power struggles. Just people living in homes they loved under rules that actually made sense. And somewhere in the distance, the new Westbridge sign glowed softly under the streetlights. A quiet reminder that sometimes the person everyone dismisses as just a resident is the one who ends up owning the whole story. I took a sip of iced tea, leaned back, and finally let myself feel it. The deep, satisfying laugh that comes when justice doesn't just arrive. It moves in next door and redos the landscaping. The end.